The prince's love or the king's command? Part 4. The scorching desert sun hung over Dubai's skyline as Prince Hamdan, now stripped of his royal title, walked through the crowded streets. For the first time in his life, he was just a man among men. No guards, no royal robes, no one bowing before him. His face was bruised from the fight with his father, but his spirit was unshaken. Every step he took felt foreign, yet thrilling. This was the world beyond the palace, the world he had been shielded from, but freedom came with its own dangers. The streets whispered his name. Some recognized him. Others stared too long. And in the shadows, unseen eyes watched his every move. Back in the palace, King Mohammed sat in his private chamber, his hands resting on the hilt of his golden cane. His wife, Queen Amira, stood near the window, her expression unreadable. It has been 3 days. Her voice was quiet, but firm. He is still in the city. The king's grip on his cane tightened. Then he is a fool, Amira turned, her piercing eyes locking onto him. Or perhaps he is stronger than you ever gave him credit for, the king exhaled sharply. I gave him everything. And he threw it away for a woman beneath him. The queen took a step forward. And yet, he is still standing. While you are just sitting here, waiting for news of him. A flicker of anger crossed the king's face, but he said nothing. Because he knew she was right, and what was worse. If Hamdan was still in the city, it meant he hadn't given up yet. Danger in the streets. Hamdan had learned many things growing up in the palace. How to command armies, how to negotiate treaties, how to fight with his fists. But nothing had prepared him for the cunning of the streets. As night fell, he entered a small, hidden alley where a trusted contact had told him he could find a place to stay. But the moment he stepped inside, he felt it, the shift in the air, the presence of danger. Before he could react, a blade glinted in the moonlight, coming straight for him. Hamdan ducked just in time as the knife slashed through the air. His instincts kicked in, and he grabbed his attacker's wrist, twisting it sharply. The man yelped, dropping the weapon, but before Hamdan could take him down, another attacker lunged from behind. Hamdan spun, blocking the strike with his forearm, then countering with a brutal punch to the ribs. The second man staggered back, but more shadows emerged from the alley. He was surrounded, and that's when he realized, this wasn't just a random attack. Someone had sent them, someone powerful, and there was only one man who held enough power to orchestrate such a thing. His father. But the real question was, did the king send these men to kill him? Or to drag him back to the palace? Hamdan didn't have time to wonder. The fight wasn't over yet, the prince's love or the king's command. The alley was tight, dimly lit, and crawling with enemies. Hamdan's breathing was steady, but his muscles tensed as he assessed the 6 armed men surrounding him. Their faces were shadowed, but their intent was clear. They weren't here to negotiate. The leader, a tall man with a scar across his cheek, smirked. Did you really think you could walk these streets without consequences, Shehzada? Hamdan's jaw clenched. Who sent you? The man chuckled darkly. Does it matter? With a flick of his wrist. The attackers closed in. They made a mistake. They thought Hamdan was just a prince, a man raised in silk and gold, unfamiliar with the brutality of real battle. But Hamdan had been trained by the best warriors in the kingdom, and tonight, he would remind them why. A battle in the dark. The first attacker lunged with a dagger aimed at Hamdan's ribs. In a blink, Hamdan sidestepped, caught the man's wrist, and twisted it brutally. A sickening crack echoed through the alley as the attacker screamed, dropping the blade. Using the momentum, Hamdan spun and slammed his elbow into the second man's face, sending him crashing into a pile of crates. Another rushed forward, a heavy brute with a wooden baton. Hamdan barely dodged the downward strike, feeling the air shift as the weapon missed his head by inches. He grabbed a discarded metal pipe from the ground and swung it with all his strength, smashing it into the man's knee. The brute howled in pain as he collapsed. 2 more came at him together, one throwing wild punches while the other tried to flank him. Hamdan blocked a punch, then drove his knee into the man's stomach. The second attacker swung a chain, but Hamdan caught it midair and yanked it hard. pulling the man forward before delivering a brutal headbutt. Blood sprayed onto the ground. Now only one remained, the scarred leader. Hamdan tightened his grip on the pipe, eyes locked onto his final opponent. "If you have something to say it now," the leader smirked, stepping back into the shadows. This was just a warning. Then, with practiced speed, he threw a smoke bomb at the ground. A thick cloud erupted, stinging Hamdan's eyes and filling his lungs with a burning sensation. He coughed, struggling to see through the haze. By the time the smoke cleared, the leader was gone, but something else had been left behind. A small golden emblem lay on the ground, catching the faint moonlight. Hamdan picked it up, flipping it over in his fingers. His heart pounded. He knew this emblem. It belonged to the royal guard. This was no ordinary ambush. This was a message. His father hadn't ordered his death. He had ordered his capture. And if the king wanted him back in the palace, it meant one thing. Something bigger was coming, and Hamdan needed to be ready. Back in the palace, King Mohammed stood in the war chamber, staring at a map of the city. His advisors murmured around him, whispering of the prince's whereabouts, of whispers in the streets. The queen entered silently, her gaze sharp. "Is this what you wanted?" The king didn't look at her. He needs to understand that this world is not kind to men who defy power. Amira's lips pressed together. "And what if he fights back?" King Mohammed finally turned to face her. His expression was unreadable. "Then he is truly my son. The prince's love or the king's command?" Prince Hamdan stood at the edge of the alley, gripping the golden emblem between his fingers. The insignia of the royal guard glinted under the dim streetlights, a silent reminder that his father was not done with him yet. His body ached from the fight, but his mind was sharper than ever. This wasn't just about dragging him back to the palace. This was a game, and his father had just made the first move. "Fine," Hamdan muttered under his breath, tucking the emblem into his pocket. "Let's play." A dangerous ally. Hamdan knew he couldn't survive alone. The city was vast, but his father's reach was even greater. He needed someone who could help him navigate the world outside the palace, someone who knew the streets better than the royal court. There was only one name that came to mind: Zion, a former soldier of the royal guard, turned underground fixer. He had once been a loyal servant to the king, but after a bitter fallout, he vanished into the criminal underworld. Now, he thrived in the shadows, a man who could buy and sell secrets like gold. If anyone could tell Hamdan what the king was planning, it was him. The underground meeting. Hamdan made his way through the city's underbelly, weaving through dark alleys and hidden corridors until he reached a rundown tea house on the outskirts. It was a place for men who lived in the gray spaces between law and crime. The air was thick with the scent of cardamom and tobacco. Men sat in quiet corners, speaking in hushed voices, exchanging